In this video, I'm going to show and explain exactly what you need to open a US bank account, whether that's coming in person or doing it online. I'm going to share some of the resources that we share with our clients, as we have clients from all over the world who travel to the US, who work with our remote bank account openings, and also who open the online accounts. And I want to go through how it's working right now in 2025. And I'm also going to share with you a document, a checklist that I have with links to banks that I use and the links to banks that I recommend, especially in Miami, and a checklist of exactly what you need to bring to the bank, whether you want to open a business account or a personal account. So definitely stay tuned to this. Right now in the US, we're expecting regulations for banks to actually go down a little bit. That's what we're expecting with the new administration, that it might be easier to open an account, but then the banks might step up how they're doing tracking like bad spending habits and flagging accounts. But we're expecting it to be easier to open accounts. But despite how it was in the past years, it's still very possible to fly to the US and open business and personal bank accounts without having an ITIN. And it's also possible to get accounts online, but some of the online accounts are a little harder than before. So I'm going to share my screen and go through this main bank list. I have, I think, 73 different banks listed here. So this is an internal document that we use with our team, where we go over the website, the type of bank, and I'll leave that over here. And can be open online, the type of bank, because we have banks, we have EMIs, we have fintech banks, and then we have other foreign country banks and other banks we're still looking into as we're going through this. There's obviously always new banks coming and going, but we want to share our experiences on here. So we have the ease rank, and then who can open an account? Can a non-US citizen open an account? Can a foreign-owned US company open an account? This is a personal account, and these are foreign-owned US companies. And these are all yes. There's a lot of banks that you can work with that will open you an account. It's just, what do you need to bring to the bank? Who do you need to contact? What information do you have? And then you can see over here we have online applications. Yes, no, and I'm not going to go through every bank one by one. I'm going to go through a couple banks towards the end of it as what I would recommend, or what's easiest, or what has the best services, right? And a lot of them are going to be familiar, but there might be some new ones, right? So online application, in-person application, like if it's no online, that means you have to do it in person. Do they do remote opening? Potentially yes, if you have enough money. So you can see some of these banks like Helm Bank, they want $25,000 to open an account. If you have the right contact, you can contact them and push through. Citizens Bank, they want 50. Oh, they're easy. Okay, I think they're going to be on the next list. I don't think I finished it. HSBC wants you to have $5 million of revenue per year, and you need to contact the right person. Some of these branches in Florida have specific state registrations they require. Florida, Texas, it's where the banks do business. First Citizens Bank only has offices in Florida, Texas, and Delaware. So they want you to be registered in Florida, Texas, or Delaware. So some of the companies are different. Now, this is a little more documents you need to open a bank account. I'm going to go through that. And then types of proof of address: a lease document, a phone bill, utility bill. And this is something that we're like kind of not on with every bank. We have it for a lot of them. So this is the list we're using for our clients, and we're using as we guide clients through and finding out which bank or what suggestion is best for them. And we provide all the documents. Now, let me go to the sheet that I really wanted to share with you. This is something I put together and I went over with my team. Let me zoom in a little bit. So this is something I put together with my team. Documents needed to open an account in person. Like if you want to fly to Miami, Miami is generally a more friendly location to open a bank account. Obviously, it's inconvenient for someone in Australia to fly to Miami just to open a bank account. But if you're doing this all yourself and you're watching this video and you happen to be in the US, maybe a trip to Miami would be a good idea. You can use these same set of documents and go to any bank and try your luck. But these are generally what you're going to need. So obvious is passport or US driver's license. But if you're a non-US person, you need to bring a passport. You have to have a passport to get in the US anyways. A second ID, like a debit card or a driver's license in your home country, they need usually 2 forms of ID, but they'll allow debit or credit cards with your name on it. Now, for a business account, some of the banks will allow you to have a foreign personal proof of address. Now, that would be like a bank account or utility bill. So if you're from Australia, you can use your Australian bank account, the statement, to show your address in Australia. It's a proof of address, it's a KYC. For some banks, that is enough. Other banks want you to have a U.S. residential address. So I'm listing some below down here that I'll talk about when we get to them, which will allow you to have a foreign address if you talk to the right banker. Now, a funny thing about these accounts in the U.S. is that you can go to 5 different Bank of America accounts 5 different Bank of America branches and talk to 20 different people, and all the different tellers of the branches will tell you different things. A lot of the banks have wanted you to have a U.S. residential address, but as long as you have all the rest of the documentation, you can get it done at certain banks, especially in Miami, with just a foreign proof of address. Having a U.S. Address is helpful, though. And at some of these banks, which I'll go through, you don't really need a personal proof of address, but if you have a U.S. residential address, that is helpful. A sublease or another bank statement. Phone bills stopped working, and I've talked about this in the past a lot. But we've used a lot of subleases for clients and helps clients with that. Like they stay at their mom's house, they get a lease to rent their mom's house who lives in the U.S. while you live outside of the U.S. So you don't necessarily need a residential address. You basically always do for a personal account. Not every time, but you basically do if you want to open a personal account. You don't need a foreign proof of address. You need a U.S. proof of address. So opening a personal account is a little bit more complicated, as you do need a personal address. There's 2 banks below I'm going to list that are a little bit flexible with that, and they would allow a Vonage bill. U.S. phone number, I recommend Tello. If you're clicking on this sheet, I'm sharing this sheet with you. It should be in the description. This is my referral link. So if you sign up, I get $10 so I can pay for all my team's phones. So that'd be cool if you clicked my link if you're going to use it anyways. I have like 8 lines at Tello. It works great. And my remote team, I have teams all over the world. We do a lot of business in Spanish. Tello works everywhere. Free, like $10 a month for these lines, and it's a little bit of data and then unlimited call and text. So it's really great. You will need your articles of organization. That's what you get from the state when you open your LLC. If your LLC is more than a year old, you need a good standing certificate, and you can buy that from the state website. If you have a Florida LLC, they can just look on the website to see it's in good standing, but this is really for Delaware or Wyoming LLCs or state where you can't look at the standing on the website. I'm not going to go into too much detail here. EIN letter is the letter you get from the IRS with your EIN on it. The EINs are taking forever with the IRS right now. It's driving me nuts, but we're pushing. Operating agreement signed. A lot of banks don't require this, but it's great to have. I'm telling you, if you have everything on the checklist, you can just go bank, 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 and bang them out and get at least a couple accounts. Proof of business address. Now, this is really going to be in the U.S. It's great to have this. This is something you really want to have, at least some kind of proof of address in the U.S. If you don't have a U.S. residential address, you're going to need a U.S. business address and proof of address. You can get away with not having this if you live in the U.S. So if you have a driver's license in the U.S. and you live in the U.S., you don't necessarily need a proof of address for your business at every bank. But if you're a foreign person and you have a foreign proof of address, this one, you're going to need some kind of U.S. proof of address. We provide this for our clients. We have a number of different offices and addresses, solutions for our clients. And I have another video, 6 ways to get a U.S. address. There's different types of way to prove your U.S. address, and I have other videos about that. But if you want a surefire, foolproof way to get these accounts opened, it's to have all these documents ready, printed, organized, and then schedule appointments at 10 different banks, and you're going to leave Miami with 6 bank accounts. I'm going to have a couple banks that I like down here. You're going to need to explain what your business is, what you're doing for business. You can't say that I run an online crypto casino. If you say that, they're going to kick you out. You need to be able to doing probably e-commerce, professional services, maybe a software service or something. But, if you're doing restricted businesses, they're probably not going to open your account, especially as a foreign person in the U.S. A website, not required, but very helpful. And it's helpful to emphasize the work you're doing in the U.S. because they really want you to be doing business in the U.S. And then an ITIN, not required. Okay? So this is like kind of the business account checklist. Now, the personal account checklist, I'm going to review this again. Passport, second ID, U.S. residential address, ideally a proof of address, and a U.S. phone number. I believe those are the main documents that you need. Some bankers will tell you need an ITIN. But the fact is you don't at every bank. You do at some banks. Some banks will tell you, yeah, you need an ITIN. But if you go to other banks, you don't need an ITIN. And I've opened accounts for so many people in the U.S. and they've come to the U.S. and I haven't opened them, but I've facilitated the process and walked them through it because this is what we do as a professional service. We help clients open accounts. And we also have contacts at physical banks that I showed you in the last document where you can get an account opened remotely without traveling to the U.S. But that's really... we have to have all the documents prepared the right way, and it's based on a referral basis. So it's not something I can share on YouTube, unfortunately. Hopefully you guys can get it done this way, or you can obviously engage us. So let me keep going. You don't need an ITIN. People say you do, you don't. If you're gonna come to the US, I like JP Morgan Chase. I think they're great. They're one of the best banks to work with. I think they, if you have there's two branches right next to each other in Brickell. You can go to one. If they say no, go to the other one. You could end up getting an account opened. It's pretty funny. Same with Citibank. There's two accounts, there's two branches in Citibank. Unfortunately, when you apply with them, they don't tell you right away if you get approved or not. You're not going to really be able to apply for personal accounts at these banks unless you have a U.S. proof of address. It's really difficult. This is one of the bigger branches that you should be able to meet with them. They have schedule pages, so you can schedule the meetings online before you go. It'll be a lot easier. First Bank Florida is a small bank. There's never anyone there. I always I walk in, I talk to the bankers. They said, yeah, we can work with you. On this other list that I was going through, I went through Miami a couple months ago, and I just stopped at like 20 different banks. I spent a whole day and a half just walking all day during the banks. At 10 o'clock on a Tuesday, there's no one at the bank, so you can talk to managers, and there's a lot of banks in Miami that can help you out. Now, these are two interesting ones. Truist and PNC Bank are really relaxed on the proof of address requirement in the U.S. You need a U.S. residential address, but in terms of the proof of address, they're pretty relaxed. I was able to help a family member, a foreign family member of mine, open an account at Truist with just basically telling them that, oh, she lives at my house or use my house. And it was opened without, I don't even think we gave them anything. So I would definitely, if you need a personal account, try these banks. And that's a good way to get a proof of address for future banks. So once you get this account open, then you can go to another bank and say, look at my Truist bank statement. I live here. Proof of address for building credit. Helpful way. Now, these are some of the banks. You can literally go to Google Maps and search banks and go in Miami, zoom in, and find ones that you like and just make an appointment or walk by and meet them. And that's the best way if you're spending time in Miami or LA or New York or any major city to get the best odds of getting a bank account open. Walk in with your paperwork. I'm a foreign person, but I have an LLC in the US and I have a US address. Can I open an account here? And if you walk around and try at the banks, you can get them open in person. Now, there are also ways to get these accounts open remotely, or the online accounts, and I really push RelayFi. I think it's a great experience. This is my referral link. I'd love for you to use it. You're watching the video. It's a free video. Hopefully it's helpful. Click the referral link, and Relay is great. I have other videos showing how to open it. I think Relay and Mercury have the best actual banking tools and best banking experience. Even if you're an American, I would recommend these banks over other banks in the US. To send wires and to pay people so easy, and to receive money, create accounts, manage everything. I never have to go to the branch. I love it. I would highly recommend you apply at these two before you book a flight to come to the US. Now, Relay is really finicky and annoying about addresses. Generally you need a good address. It doesn't hurt to apply. It's free to apply. But you generally do need a good address there. So if you get rejected by them, let us know. If you need help and you want to work with them, we can try and figure out a solution with one of the addresses that we may have. Mercury is much more flexible with addresses. I would definitely recommend you check them out because they're basically the same tools as RelayFi, except they change rules a lot more and they charge more when using the card internationally. I love Payoneer. I don't love them, but I think it's a good service. It's kind of overtaking Wise. Wise is great, but Wise has been more difficult to work with. And I have good contacts at Payoneer that have explained. I made a video a couple weeks ago about how Payoneer is a good option and how I recommend using Payoneer for if you especially need multi-currency accounts. And then Brex is best for spending. There's no fees for spending internationally. If you can open this up, they generally want to work with software companies. I would definitely recommend Brex. There's so many other accounts online, as you can see on here on my long sheet, that we have EMIs. These are all the EMIs, TransferWise. There's just a bunch of different ones. People use Revolut and have a lot of success. People use TransferWise, AirWallex, Payoneer I talked about. There's a lot of good options online. I'd recommend you check them all out. And if you are going to the US, this is the checklist. Bring this stuff with you. If you have any other questions, comment below. If I missed anything, comment below. And if you want to work with us to stop spending time watching YouTube videos and get this stuff open remotely, or get an introduction to a banker at a US bank or some other big bank and get these accounts open remotely without traveling, schedule a free call, jamesbakercpa.com/schedule. The link to this Excel sheet's in the description. Hope it's helpful, and I'll see you on the next video.